June 6, 1944, 0630 hours, Omaha Beach. The first Sherman tanks of the 741st Tank Battalion roll off landing craft into 4 feet of churning seawater. Inside tank Commander Sergeant Frank Morrison carries a Smith and Wesson M1917 Revolver loaded with 6 rounds of 45 ACP ammunition in half-moon clips. 20,993 of these revolvers have been issued overseas to specialty troops such as tankers and artillery personnel throughout America's involvement in World War II. Morrison's about to discover why the Germans fear this reliable 6-shot sidearm more than the standard M1911 pistol. The morning surf pounds against the steel hull of Morrison's M4 Sherman as seawater floods through the driver's hatch. The tank weighs 33 tons fully loaded, but the duplex drive flotation system is failing. Around him 27 of 32 amphibious Sherman tanks are sinking in the English Channel carrying their crews to watery graves. Morrison's tank lurches sideways as a German 88mm shell screams overhead from the bluffs of strongpoint WW2. "Driver, get us to shore," Morrison shouts into his throat microphone. But the tank's Ford GAA V8 engine coughs and dies as seawater floods the air intake. Through his periscope Morrison sees the easy red sector of Omaha Beach 600 yards ahead. German machine gun fire from MG-42s rakes the water around struggling tank crews. The 32-pound M1917 revolver on Morrison's hip represents 6 chances to fight back if they have to abandon their steel coffin. Corporal Jimmy Kowalski, the tank's loader, peers through his periscope at the carnage unfolding on the beach. Companies E and F of the 16th Infantry Regiment from the 1st Infantry Division are wading through neck-deep water under intense machine gun fire. The men fall into the bloody surf until only handfuls reach the shingle bank. Kowalski grips his own M1917 revolver, one of the 188,120 in Army Reserves as of November 1940. The revolver's 5.5-inch barrel and solid steel construction make it more reliable than the M1911 in wet conditions. "Tanks taking on water fast, Sarge," shouts Private Eddie Martinez, the driver. Engines flooded. Through the driver's vision port, he watches an LCVP containing troops from the 116th Regiment of the 29th Infantry Division approach the beach. The craft should have landed much farther west, but currents and foul weather pushed them into easy red sector. Martinez checks his M1917 revolver in its M1909 holster, carried but forward in cavalry style. The tank's radio crackles with panicked voices from other Sherman crews. "This is Baker 2-4, we're going down. Crew bailing out." Morrison recognizes the voice of Lieutenant Patterson from B Company. Through the chaos, he counts only 5 of the original 32 DD tanks still afloat. The German gunners on the bluffs have zeroed in on the struggling armor. An 88mm round slams into the water 50 yards away, sending up a geyser of foam and shrapnel. Morrison makes the decision that will save his crew's lives. "All crew, prepare to abandon tank. Grab your weapons and ammunition." The 5 men of Morrison's crew each carry an M1917 revolver as their primary sidearm. The revolvers fire the same 45 ACP ammunition as the M1911 pistol, but the 6-shot cylinder provides reliable operation even when clogged with sand and seawater. Each crew member also carries canvas pouches containing 18 additional rounds in half-moon clips. Gunner Sergeant Mike O'Brien stuffs extra half-moon clips into his field jacket before opening his hatch. The Irish-American from Boston has trained extensively with the M1917 at Fort Knox. Unlike the M1911, the revolver cannot jam from a failure to eject spent cartridges. In combat conditions where split seconds mean survival, O'Brien trusts the revolver's double-action trigger over the semi-automatic's complex mechanism. As Morrison's crew prepares to abandon their tank, the broader disaster at Omaha Beach unfolds around them. The preliminary bombardment by 600 naval guns has overshot the German positions, leaving the beach defenses intact. Underwater demolition teams assigned to clear gaps in the obstacles have been killed or lost their equipment in the rough surf. The carefully planned timetable for the assault has collapsed into chaos. Radio operator Corporal Tony Ricci monitors the frantic communications between landing craft and the command ship USS Ancon. "Easy Red is taking heavy casualties," he reports to Morrison. "The The 16th Infantry Regiment is pinned down at the waterline. Ricci adjusts his M1917 in its holster, checking that the lanyard ring is secure. The revolver weighs 2.5 pounds, but its reliability in wet conditions makes it worth carrying. On the bluffs above Easy Red Sector, German machine gunners from the 352nd Infantry Division pour devastating fire into the landing forces. Private Heinrich Müller of the 726th Grenadier Regiment mans an MG-42 machine gun in concrete strongpoint WN-72. Through his binoculars, he watches American tank crews abandoning their vehicles in the surf. What Müller doesn't know is that these tankers carry revolvers specifically chosen for their reliability in amphibious operations. Morrison gives the order to abandon ship. Everyone out. Head for shore and regroup on the beach. The 5 crew members splash into the cold English Channel water, each man struggling to keep his weapons above the waves. Morrison's M1917 revolver rides high on his hip in the waterproof M1909 holster. The revolver's solid construction and simple mechanism will function even after submersion in seawater, unlike the more complex M1911 pistol. The swim to shore becomes a nightmare of machine gun fire and exploding artillery shells. Kowalski goes under twice but manages to keep his revolver dry. Martinez takes shrapnel in the shoulder but continues swimming one-armed toward the beach. O'Brien helps wounded tanker Corporal Davis from another crew, sharing the load of extra ammunition. Ricci uses his radio equipment as flotation while protecting his sidearm. As Morrison's feet touch the sand of Easy Red Sector, German machine gun fire erupts from the bluffs above. He draws his M1917 revolver and fires 2 quick shots at muzzle flashes in the concrete bunkers 400 yards away. The revolver's 45 ACP rounds lack the range for effective long-distance shooting, but the psychological effect of return fire helps rally the pinned-down infantry around him. Private First Class Bobby Thompson of Company E, 16th Infantry Regiment, lies wounded behind a beach obstacle 20 yards from Morrison. The 19-year-old from Tennessee clutches an M1 Garand rifle with a jammed bolt. "Tank crew, over here!" Thompson shouts above the din of battle. Morrison low crawls across the sand, his revolver ready for close quarters fighting. "What's your situation, soldier?" Morrison asks, sliding into cover beside the wounded infantryman. Thompson points toward a German strongpoint firing down on their position. "MG-42 in that bunker is cutting us to pieces. We can't advance." Morrison studies the target through binoculars salvaged from his tank. The concrete position sits 300 yards up the bluff, well beyond the effective range of his revolver. O'Brien reaches Morrison's position carrying a Bar automatic rifle recovered from a casualty. The sergeant from Boston checks his M1917 revolver cylinder, ensuring all 6 chambers contain live rounds. "Sarge, we need to get closer to that bunker," he tells Morrison. "The infantry's been trying to advance for 2 hours, but they're pinned down." The tactical situation on Easy Red Sector reflects the broader crisis at Omaha Beach. Of the 34,000 troops scheduled to land on D-Day, over 2,400 become casualties. The first waves of infantry face the veteran 352nd Infantry Division instead of the expected coastal garrison troops. German artillery and machine gun fire turn the beach into a killing ground. Morrison makes a command decision that will change the battle's outcome. "We're going to work up that bluff and take out the machine gun nest," he tells his tank crew. "Use your revolvers for close-in work and conserve ammunition. The M1917's 6-shot capacity requires careful fire discipline, but its reliability in the sand and surf of Normandy makes it ideal for the close-quarters fighting ahead." Kowalski reloads his revolver with a fresh half-moon clip containing 3 45 ACP rounds. The loader from Chicago has practiced the reload procedure hundreds of times, but performing it under fire while lying in sand presents new challenges. The half-moon clip system invented by Joseph Wesson allows rapid reloading compared to loading individual cartridges, though the clips can bend and cause feeding problems if not handled carefully. As Morrison's group begins their advance up the bluff, they encounter other American units using M1917 revolvers. Military police from the 5th Engineer Special Brigade carry the weapons while directing traffic on the beach under fire. Artillery forward observers from the 7th Field Artillery Battalion use revolvers as backup weapons while calling for naval gunfire support from destroyers offshore. The advance up the bluff becomes a deadly game of fire and movement. Martinez, despite his wounded shoulder, provides covering fire with a captured German Gur 98 rifle while his comrades bound forward. O'Brien uses his bar to suppress the machine gun nest while Morrison and Kowalski flank the position. Ricci maintains communication with other American units using a portable radio salvaged from the beach. 200 yards up the slope, Morrison encounters German infantry from the 726th Grenadier Regiment in their fighting positions. Oberstfreiter Klaus Weber fires his Karabiner 98K rifle at the advancing Americans before drawing his Luger P08 pistol for close combat. Weber has 8 rounds in his pistol's magazine plus 1 in the chamber, giving him a slight advantage over Morrison's 6-shot revolver. The firefight erupts at 30 yards range as both men take cover behind concrete obstacles. Morrison fires 3 carefully aimed shots from his M1917, forcing Weber to duck behind cover. The American tank commander's revolver cannot match the Luger's magazine capacity, but its reliability and stopping power of the .45 ACP cartridge give him confidence in close combat. Weber attempts to flank Morrison's position but runs into Kowalski advancing from the left side. The Chicago loader fires 2 shots from his revolver at the German soldier, missing both times but forcing Weber to retreat toward the main bunker. The sound of American revolvers firing alerts other German defenders to the presence of enemy troops on the bluff. O'Brien reaches the concrete bunker from the right flank, his bar providing suppressive fire against the MG-42 crew inside. Through a vision slit, he sees 3 German soldiers manning the machine gun and preparing stick grenades for throwing. The sergeant draws his M1917 revolver and fires 4 shots through the opening, forcing the crew to abandon their weapon. The capture of the machine gun nest represents a turning point in the battle for Easy Red Sector. With the dominant German position neutralized, American infantry can advance up the bluff and establish a foothold on the continent. Morrison's tank crew, armed with their reliable revolvers, has helped break the deadlock that threatened to turn D-Day into disaster. As German resistance on the bluff collapses, Morrison reloads his M1917 with his last half-moon clip. The revolver has performed flawlessly despite exposure to seawater, sand, and the concussion of nearby explosions. The weapon's simple double-action mechanism and solid steel construction prove superior to semi-automatic pistols in the harsh conditions of amphibious warfare. But Morrison's story with the M1917 began months earlier in the North African desert, where American tank crews first encountered the revolver's advantages over standard sidearms. The desert campaigns of 1942 and 1943 provided crucial experience in using the weapon under combat conditions, experience that would prove vital on the beaches of Normandy. In November 1942, Morrison commanded a different Sherman tank during Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of French North Africa. His crew landed at Oran, Algeria, as part of the 1st Armored Division's combat debut against German and Italian forces. The desert environment presented unique challenges for small arms, challenges that highlighted the M1917's superiority over other sidearms. The Sahara Desert's sand and dust clog the delicate mechanisms of semi-automatic pistols, causing frequent jams and malfunctions. Tank crews operating in these conditions quickly learned to prefer revolvers for their reliability. The M1917's enclosed cylinder and simple mechanism function despite exposure to fine sand particles that would disable an M1911 pistol. Sergeant Morrison's first combat action with the M1917 occurred during the Battle of Kasserine Pass in February 1943. His Sherman tank took a direct hit from a German Panzer IV's 75mm gun, forcing the crew to abandon their vehicle and fight as infantry. Armed only with their revolvers and a few grenades, Morrison's crew held a strategic hilltop against German infantry for 6 hours until relieved by American forces. During that desperate defense, Morrison discovered the psychological effect of the M1917's distinctive sound. The revolver's report differs markedly from the sharper crack of the M1911, and German soldiers quickly learned to associate the deeper boom with American tank crews. The sound became a signature of American armored forces throughout the North African campaign. Kowalski's experience with the M1917 in Tunisia showcased the weapon's stopping power. During a night attack on German positions near Spitla, the loader encountered a German patrol armed with MP-40 submachine guns. The enemy soldiers carried 32 rounds each in their weapons, vastly outgunning Kowalski's 6-shot revolver. However, the 45 ACP's heavy bullet dropped 2 attackers with single shots, allowing Kowalski to reach cover and reload. The effectiveness of the M1917 in North African combat led to increased distribution among American armored units. Tank crews reported higher confidence levels when armed with revolvers compared to semi-automatic pistols. The weapon's reliability in desert conditions and the commonality of ammunition with the Thompson submachine gun made it ideal for armored operations. O'Brien's encounter with Italian forces during the Sicily invasion demonstrated another advantage of the M1917: its ability to function with dirty or damaged ammunition. Water damage to cartridge cases often causes semi-automatic pistols to jam, but the revolver's chamber design accommodates slightly deformed cases. This reliability proved crucial during amphibious operations where ammunition exposure to seawater was inevitable. The production history of the M1917 reflects America's rapid mobilization for global warfare. Smith and Wesson manufactured 153,300 revolvers during World War I, while Colt produced 151,700. By 1940, Army Ordnance maintained 188,120 revolvers in reserve, ready for reissue to combat units. The decision to deploy 20,993 M1917 revolvers overseas to specialty troops reflected careful analysis of combat requirements. Tank crews and artillery personnel needed reliable sidearms that could function in harsh environmental conditions while providing effective close-range firepower. The revolver's proven design met these requirements better than newer semi-automatic alternatives. Artillery Forward Observer Lieutenant Robert Hayes discovered the M1917's combat value during the Anzio campaign in Italy. Hayes' mission required him to advance close to German lines to direct naval gunfire from destroyers offshore. Armed with an M1917 revolver, field glasses, and a radio, Hayes spent 4 months in no man's land calling fire missions against German positions. The close-quarters nature of fighting at Anzio made the revolver an essential survival tool for Hayes and other forward observers. German patrols regularly infiltrated American lines seeking to eliminate artillery spotters. In one engagement, Hayes used his M1917 to fight off 3 German soldiers attempting to capture his observation post, killing 2 and wounding the 3rd before friendly forces arrived. The reliability of the M1917 under extreme conditions became legendary among artillery personnel. Forward observer Sergeant Mike Sullivan carried his revolver through the entire Italian campaign, from Salerno to the Gothic Line. The weapon functioned flawlessly despite exposure to mud, rain, snow, and the concussion of thousands of artillery rounds. Sullivan credited his survival to the revolver's unfailing reliability. Military police units armed with M1917 revolvers played crucial roles in rear area security throughout the European campaign. MP Sergeant Bill Murphy used his revolver to guard German prisoners at collection points behind the front lines. The sight of American MPs armed with heavy revolvers had a psychological effect on captured German soldiers, many of whom expected summary execution after years of propaganda about American brutality. The processing of German prisoners revealed interesting intelligence about enemy perceptions of American small arms. Interrogation reports indicate that German soldiers respected the M1917's reputation for reliability and stopping power. Many captured Germans expressed surprise that American tank crews carried revolvers instead of the more modern M1911 pistol, not understanding the tactical advantages of the older design. Combat engineer units used M1917 revolvers for protection while performing dangerous missions under fire. Engineer Sergeant Dave Wilson carried his revolver during the construction of Bailey bridges across rivers in France and Germany. The close-range fighting often encountered during river crossings made the revolver's reliability and stopping power essential for survival. The Battle of the Bulge in December 1944 provided another test of the M1917's combat effectiveness. Tank crews from the 3rd Armored Division found themselves fighting as infantry when German forces overran their positions. Armed primarily with revolvers and submachine guns, these tankers held key road junctions until reinforcements arrived. Staff Sergeant Joe Martinez of the 3rd Armored Division used his M1917 to defend a crossroads near Bastogne during the German offensive. Martinez and 3 other tankers held the position for 12 hours against repeated attacks by German infantry from the Volksgrenadier divisions. The revolver's reliability in sub-zero temperatures proved crucial as semi-automatic weapons froze and malfunctioned. The psychological warfare value of the M1917 became evident during urban fighting in German cities. Tank crews armed with revolvers found that the weapon's intimidation factor helped in clearing buildings and securing prisoners. The sight of American tankers with heavy revolvers often convinced German defenders to surrender rather than fight to the death. Radio operator Corporal Sam Roberts documented the effectiveness of the M1917 during house-to-house fighting in Aachen, Germany's first major city to fall to Allied forces. Roberts' tank crew cleared dozens of buildings using their revolvers and submachine guns in coordination with infantry units. The revolver's reliability in confined spaces made it ideal for close-quarters urban combat. The final test of the M1917 came during the crossing of the Rhine River and the advance into the heart of Germany. Tank crews armed with revolvers encountered desperate German resistance from Hitler Youth units, foreign volunteers, and regular Wehrmacht troops making final stands. The revolver's stopping power proved essential in ending close-range firefights quickly and decisively. Tank Commander Captain Jim Collins led his Sherman across the Rhine at Remagen on March 7, 1945, armed with an M1917 revolver and a Thompson submachine gun. Collins' crew fought through the Ruhr industrial area, encountering fierce resistance from German forces determined to defend their homeland. The revolver's reliability never failed during 6 weeks of continuous combat. The production statistics for M1917 revolvers tell the story of American industrial mobilization. Total production reached 318,432 revolvers, making it one of the most widely manufactured military handguns in history. The weapon served in every American conflict from World War I through Vietnam, a testament to its enduring design excellence. Quality control during wartime production maintained the high standards established during peacetime manufacture. Both Smith and Wesson and Colt employed experienced craftsmen who understood the critical importance of producing reliable weapons for combat use. Inspection procedures ensured that each revolver met military specifications for accuracy, reliability, and durability. The half-moon clip system that made the M1917 compatible with 45 ACP ammunition represented a brilliant engineering solution. Joseph Wesson's invention allowed revolvers designed for rimmed cartridges to fire rimless ammunition developed for semi-automatic pistols. This commonality simplified logistics and allowed troops to share ammunition between different weapon types. Loading procedures for the M1917 required careful attention to prevent jams and misfires. The half-moon clips held 3 cartridges each, requiring 2 clips to fully load the 6-shot cylinder. Proper technique involved inserting both clips simultaneously and ensuring they seated correctly before closing the cylinder. Bent or damaged clips could cause feeding problems, so troops carried spare clips for reliability. Maintenance of the M1917 in field conditions required basic understanding of the weapon's mechanism. Daily cleaning involved removing the cylinder and wiping down all metal surfaces to prevent corrosion. The revolver's simple design allowed field-expedient repairs using common tools, unlike the complex mechanisms of semi-automatic pistols that required armor-level maintenance. Accuracy testing of combat-used M1917 revolvers revealed the weapon's inherent precision. Despite hard use in various theaters, most revolvers maintained acceptable accuracy at combat ranges. The fixed sights and solid construction contributed to consistent shot placement, essential for the close-range engagements typical of tank crew and artillery personnel missions. The combat record of the M1917 in World War II established the weapon's reputation for reliability under extreme conditions. From the deserts of North Africa to the beaches of Normandy to the streets of German cities, the revolver performed flawlessly when lives depended on its function. This reliability made it the preferred sidearm of many experienced combat veterans. Training programs for M1917 users emphasized practical marksmanship over target shooting techniques. Combat ranges replicated battlefield conditions with reduced visibility, time pressure, and physical stress. Instructors taught point shooting methods for close-range engagements, recognizing that most combat use would occur at distances under 25 yards. Ammunition selection for the M1917 focused on the standard military .45 ACP ball round, designated as cartridge, ball, caliber .45, M1911. This 230-grain full metal jacket bullet provided reliable penetration and stopping power against human targets while maintaining consistent ballistic performance. Special-purpose ammunition included tracer and armor-piercing variants for specific missions. The logistics chain supporting M1917 deployment included specialized training for armorers and supply personnel. Replacement parts, ammunition, and accessories had to reach combat units regardless of location or tactical situation. The weapon's widespread use among specialty troops made it a high-priority item for supply operations. Personal accounts from M1917 users reveal the emotional attachment troops developed to their revolvers. Tank crews, artillery personnel, and military police often personalized their weapons with engravings, custom grips, or other modifications. These revolvers became symbols of survival and effectiveness in combat, treasured possessions that accompanied troops throughout their service. The German perspective on American use of M1917 revolvers provides insight into enemy tactical thinking. Captured documents indicate that German intelligence recognized the weapon's significance as an indicator of American specialty troops. Tank crews and artillery personnel armed with revolvers represented high-priority targets for German forces. Oberst Friedrich von Mellenthin, a German staff officer who served in North Africa and Europe, noted in his post-war memoirs the effectiveness of American tank crews armed with revolvers. Von Mellenthin observed that these troops displayed higher morale and combat effectiveness than infantry units, possibly due to their superior equipment and training. The sight of revolvers became associated with elite American forces. German small arms development during the war included attempts to create weapons comparable to the M1917. However, German industry focused on semi-automatic pistols and submachine guns, lacking the production capacity to manufacture large quantities of revolvers. The Luger P-08 and Walther P-38 remained standard German sidearms throughout the war. The tactical employment of M1917 armed troops followed established American doctrine emphasizing firepower and mobility. Tank crews used their revolvers for close-range self-defense, while artillery personnel employed them for protection during fire missions. Military police utilized the weapon's intimidation factor for crowd control and prisoner handling. Post-war analysis of M1917 effectiveness revealed several key advantages over contemporary sidearms. The weapon's reliability in adverse conditions exceeded that of semi-automatic pistols by significant margins. Stopping power of the .45 ACP cartridge proved superior to smaller caliber rounds. Simplicity of maintenance reduced logistical requirements compared to more complex weapons. The continuation of M1917 service into the Korean War and Vietnam demonstrates the weapon's enduring value. Tunnel rats in Vietnam particularly appreciated the revolver's reliability in the humid underground environment of enemy tunnel systems. The weapon's ability to function when caked with mud and debris made it ideal for these specialized missions. Manufacturing quality of wartime M1917 revolvers maintained peacetime standards despite increased production demands. Both Colt and Smith and Wesson employed skilled workers who understood the critical importance of producing reliable weapons for combat use. Quality control procedures ensured that each revolver met military specifications for accuracy and dependability. The influence of the M1917 on post-war revolver development can be seen in subsequent military and police weapons. The lessons learned from combat use informed design improvements in later generations of revolvers. The basic principles established with the M1917 continue to influence modern revolver design and manufacture. Economic analysis of M1917 production reveals the cost-effectiveness of the program. The total investment in 318,432 revolvers provided decades of reliable service across multiple conflicts. When compared to the cost of developing and producing new weapons, the M1917 represented exceptional value for military procurement. The training legacy of the M1917 influenced American small arms instruction for generations. The emphasis on practical marksmanship and reliability over technical complexity became standard doctrine for military weapons training. Many post-war shooting champions began their careers learning fundamentals on M1917 revolvers. International distribution of M1917 revolvers through Lend-Lease programs extended the weapon's influence beyond American forces. Brazilian military units received 25,000 revolvers designated as Modelo 1937. Other Allied nations received smaller quantities for evaluation and limited use by special forces. The collecting and preservation of M1917 revolvers has become a significant aspect of military history research. Museums and private collectors maintain examples of both Colt and Smith and Wesson variants, preserving these artifacts for future generations. Many revolvers bear unit markings or personal engravings that tell individual stories of wartime service. The technical specifications of the M1917 established benchmarks for military revolver performance that remain relevant today. The weapon's 10.8-inch overall length, 5.5-inch barrel, and 2.5-pound weight provided an optimal balance of accuracy, portability, and durability. These dimensions influenced the design of subsequent military revolvers. Ballistic performance of the M1917 with military .45 ACP ammunition produced muzzle velocities of approximately 760 feet per second. This relatively low velocity reduced recoil and muzzle flash while maintaining sufficient energy for effective target engagement at combat ranges. The heavy bullet weight provided excellent penetration characteristics. Field modifications of M1917 revolvers by troops reflected practical requirements for combat effectiveness. Common modifications included addition of lanyards to prevent loss during combat, custom grips for better handling, and sight adjustments for individual preferences. Most modifications were reversible and did not affect the weapon's basic reliability. The role of M1917 revolvers in combined arms operations demonstrated the importance of reliable sidearms for specialty troops. Tank crews, artillery personnel, and engineers required weapons that would function when their primary equipment failed or was unavailable. The revolver provided this essential backup capability throughout the war. Comparative analysis of M1917 performance versus other contemporary sidearms reveals the weapon's superior reliability record. Semi-automatic pistols of the era experienced significantly higher malfunction rates under field conditions. The revolver's simple mechanism and robust construction made it the preferred choice for troops operating in harsh environments. The psychology of carrying an M1917 revolver affected troop morale and confidence levels. The weapon's reputation for reliability and stopping power provided psychological reassurance to troops facing life-threatening situations. This confidence factor contributed to the overall combat effectiveness of units equipped with the revolver. Maintenance procedures for the M1917 emphasized preventive care over corrective maintenance. Daily cleaning and inspection prevented most problems before they affected weapon function. The revolver's simple design allowed troops to perform most maintenance tasks without special tools or extensive training. Ammunition compatibility between the M1917 and other American weapons simplified logistics and training. The same .45 ACP cartridges used in M1911 pistols, Thompson submachine guns, and M3 grease guns could be fired in the revolver. This standardization reduced the variety of ammunition types required in combat zones. The ergonomics of the M1917 suited a wide range of hand sizes and shooting preferences. The weapon's grip angle and trigger reach accommodated most users without modification. The double-action trigger allowed rapid engagement of multiple targets, while the single-action option provided precision for aimed shots at longer ranges. Manufacturing tolerances for wartime M1917 production balanced quality with quantity requirements. Both Colt and Smith and Wesson maintained standards that ensured interchangeability of parts between manufacturers while maximizing production output. This standardization simplified maintenance and repair operations in the field. The strategic importance of reliable sidearms for specialty troops became evident throughout the war. Tank crews and artillery personnel often found themselves in situations where their primary weapons were unavailable or ineffective. The M1917 provided the reliable firepower necessary for survival in these circumstances. Training ammunition for M1917 instruction included reduced power loads to minimize recoil and muzzle blast while maintaining ballistic similarity to service ammunition. This approach allowed extensive practice without the expense and logistical burden of full-power cartridges. Blank ammunition provided realistic training for tactical exercises. The legacy of the M1917 extends beyond its military service to influence civilian law enforcement and sporting applications. Many police departments adopted the revolver for patrol use, appreciating its reliability and stopping power. Sport shooters discovered the weapon's inherent accuracy made it suitable for competitive use. Quality assurance testing of M1917 revolvers included proof firing with high-pressure loads to verify chamber strength and cylinder timing. Each weapon underwent inspection for proper headspace, cylinder alignment, and trigger function before acceptance by military authorities. These procedures ensured that only reliable weapons reached combat units. The cultural impact of the M1917 revolver appears in numerous films, books, and television programs about World War II. The weapon's distinctive appearance and historical significance make it a popular choice for authentic period depictions. Many actors have trained with reproductions to accurately portray the handling characteristics of the original. Environmental testing of M1917 revolvers validated their performance under extreme conditions. Tests included exposure to sand, salt water, extreme temperatures, and high humidity to simulate battlefield conditions. The results confirmed the weapon's superiority over semi-automatic alternatives in harsh environments. The evolution of revolver design principles established with the M1917 influenced subsequent generations of military and civilian handguns. The emphasis on reliability over complexity became a fundamental tenet of American small arms philosophy. Modern revolvers still incorporate many design elements pioneered with the M1917. Supply chain management for M1917 distribution required coordination between manufacturers, military depots, and combat units worldwide. The weapon's assignment to specialty troops made it a high-priority item for shipment to combat zones. Careful tracking ensured that these valuable weapons reached their intended users. The retirement of M1917 revolvers from active military service began in the 1950s as newer weapons became available. However, many revolvers remained in service with reserve units, military police, and special operations forces well into the Vietnam era. The weapon's proven reliability made it difficult to replace completely. Preservation of M1917 historical documentation provides valuable insights into wartime production and employment. Military records, training manuals, and personal accounts combine to create a comprehensive picture of the weapon's service history. This documentation serves as a resource for historians and collectors studying the period. The final combat use of M1917 revolvers occurred during the Vietnam War when tunnel rats and other specialists carried them into the underground complexes of North Vietnamese forces. The weapon's reliability in the humid, confined spaces of tunnel systems made it ideal for this dangerous mission. Many veterans credit their survival to the revolver's unfailing performance. Today, surviving M1917 revolvers serve as tangible links to the courage and sacrifice of the troops who carried them. Museums, collectors, and veterans organizations maintain these weapons as historical artifacts and educational tools. Each revolver tells a story of American industrial capacity, military effectiveness, and individual heroism during the nation's greatest conflict. The technical achievements represented by the M1917 revolver reflect the broader story of American victory in World War II. The weapon's successful combination of reliability, firepower, and manufacturability exemplifies the industrial and engineering excellence that helped win the war. From the factories of Springfield and Hartford to the battlefields of Europe, Africa, and the Pacific, the M1917 served with distinction. The human stories behind each M1917 revolver remind us that weapons are tools in the hands of brave individuals facing extraordinary circumstances. Tank crews like Sergeant Morrison, artillery observers like Lieutenant Hayes, and military police like Sergeant Murphy carried these revolvers into combat, trusting their lives to American craftsmanship and design excellence. As the last World War II veterans pass from the scene, the M1917 revolvers they carried become increasingly important historical artifacts. These weapons represent not just military hardware but symbols of the generation that saved democracy and freedom for the world. Their legacy continues to inspire new generations of Americans who appreciate the sacrifice and dedication of those who served. The story of the M1917 revolver in World War II demonstrates how seemingly minor equipment decisions can have major impacts on combat effectiveness. The choice to issue reliable revolvers to specialty troops instead of more modern semi-automatic pistols reflected careful analysis of operational requirements. This decision saved countless American lives and contributed to ultimate victory. From the beaches of Normandy to the streets of Berlin, the M1917 revolver served American forces with distinction. Its 6 shots of reliable firepower gave tank crews, artillery personnel, and military police the confidence to perform their dangerous missions. When the stakes were highest and failure meant death, American troops could count on their revolvers to function flawlessly. The Germans who faced American forces armed with M1917 revolvers learned to respect both the weapon and the men who carried it. The revolver became a symbol of American military professionalism and industrial excellence. Its distinctive sound on the battlefield announced the presence of elite American units trained and equipped for victory. Today, as we remember the sacrifices of the greatest generation, the M1917 revolver stands as a testament to American ingenuity and determination. These weapons helped secure the freedom we enjoy today, carried by heroes who answered their nation's call in its darkest hour. Their legacy reminds us that freedom is never free and must be defended by each generation. The 20,993 M1917 revolvers issued to overseas specialty troops represent 20,993 stories of courage under fire. Each weapon carried by a tank crew member, artillery observer, or military policeman became part of that individual's survival story. Together, they helped write the chapter of American victory in World War II. In the annals of military history, the M1917 revolver occupies a unique place as the reliable companion of America's specialty troops. When other weapons failed, when conditions were harshest, when the enemy was closest, these revolvers delivered the firepower needed for survival and victory. They remain symbols of the engineering excellence and manufacturing quality that helped America win the war. The 6-shot cylinder of the M1917 may seem modest compared to modern high-capacity pistols, but in the hands of trained American troops, those 6 rounds proved more than sufficient. Accuracy, reliability, and stopping power mattered more than magazine capacity in the close-range engagements where these weapons saw service. Quality triumphed over quantity, as it did throughout America's war effort. As this story concludes, the M1917 revolvers rest in museums, collections, and display cases around the world. But their true monument lies in the freedom secured by the men who carried them. From Omaha Beach to the Rhine River, from the deserts of North Africa to the factories of the Ruhr, these weapons served freedom's cause with distinction. They remind us that in the contest between tyranny and freedom, American arms and American courage proved decisive. The legacy of the M1917 revolver extends far beyond its technical specifications or production numbers. It represents the spirit of American troops who faced impossible odds with reliable weapons and unshakable determination. When the history of World War II is written, these revolvers deserve recognition as the trusted companions of America's finest hours. Their 6 shots helped secure victory for democracy and freedom around the world.